When my husband walked through the front door holding another woman's hand, I honestly thought I was seeing things. I even smiled, not because I was happy, because my mind refused to believe what my eyes were showing me. The living room was filled with soft music, laughter, and the warm smell of homemade food. Pink and gold balloons floated near the ceiling. Fresh flowers covered the dining table. My birthday cake sat in the center with 25 tiny candles waiting to be lit. I had spent 2 days preparing everything. Every plate, every flower, every little detail. I wanted this birthday to be special, not because of gifts, but because my husband, Marcus, had promised me it would be the beginning of a new chapter for us. Instead, it became the day my whole life changed. My name is Naomi. I am a 25-year-old Black American woman from Charlotte, North Carolina. Growing up, my mother always told me, a peaceful home is built one kind word at a time. I believed that with all my heart. Maybe that was why I ignored so many little warning signs. Marcus and I had been married for 3 years. We met in college. He wasn't rich. Neither was I. We worked hard together, dreamed together, and slowly built a comfortable life. We bought a small house outside the city. Every room carried memories of our journey. The kitchen reminded me of our first failed attempt at baking cookies. The backyard reminded me of the tiny vegetable garden Marcus insisted would save us money. Nothing about our life felt perfect, but it felt real, or at least I thought it did. That Saturday afternoon, our families and close friends slowly filled the house. My older sister Jasmine hugged me tightly. "You look beautiful," she whispered. "You think so?" "I know so," I laughed softly. For the first time in weeks, I actually felt relaxed. Marcus had texted me earlier. "Running a little late. I have one last surprise." I smiled every time I read those words. A surprise. I imagined flowers, maybe jewelry, maybe tickets for the beach vacation we had talked about for months. Never once did I imagine another woman. Guests gathered around the dining table, chatting while waiting for Marcus. My uncle joked that husbands were always late. Everyone laughed. Even I laughed. Then I heard the front door open. "There he is," someone called. I turned toward the entrance with the biggest smile on my face. Marcus stepped inside wearing his favorite navy blue suit. For 1 second, everything felt normal. Then I noticed the woman beside him. She looked about my age. She was dressed in a beautiful white dress. Her makeup was flawless. She stood close enough that their shoulders touched. I waited for Marcus to introduce her as a coworker, or maybe a cousin I had never met. Instead, he wrapped one arm around her waist. The room became completely silent. Even the music suddenly seemed too loud. Marcus smiled as if nothing was unusual. "I hope everyone doesn't mind," he said casually. "I wanted someone special to meet all of you today." Nobody spoke. I looked around the room. My mother frowned. My sister stared at Marcus without blinking. My best friend slowly lowered her glass. I forced myself to smile. "Marcus." My voice barely came out. "Who is she?" Before he answered, the young woman gave me a polite smile. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't kind either. It was almost confident. Marcus looked directly into my eyes. Then he said words I will never forget. "This is Vanessa." He paused long enough for every heartbeat in the room to grow louder. "The woman I've fallen in love with." I felt my knees weaken. Someone gasped behind me. A fork slipped onto the floor. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Marcus continued speaking as though he were announcing a promotion at work. I didn't want to keep hiding the truth anymore. I searched his face, waiting for him to laugh. Waiting for someone to shout that this was a terrible joke. No one did. Instead, Vanessa gently reached for Marcus's hand. He didn't pull away. Tears filled my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of everyone. I slowly looked around my own home, at the birthday decorations, at the cake with my name written in bright pink icing, at the smiling faces that had turned into expressions of shock. Then I looked back at my husband. For the first time since I had met him, I realized I had been sharing my life with a man I no longer recognized. And somehow, deep inside me, a quiet voice whispered that this was only the beginning of something far worse. The silence inside my living room felt heavier than stone. No one knew what to say. The birthday candles still waited to be lit, but suddenly they looked meaningless. The balloons that had seemed cheerful only minutes ago now floated above us like quiet witnesses. I stood there, unable to move, staring at the man who had promised to love me forever. Marcus looked completely calm. It was as if he had practiced this moment many times in his head. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way," he said, "but I didn't want to lie anymore." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "So, you thought my birthday was the right day?" His eyes dropped for a second. Then he shrugged. "There is never a good time." My sister Jasmine stepped between us. "You've lost your mind," she said, her voice steady. "Take that woman and leave." Marcus frowned. "This is between Naomi and me." "No," Jasmine replied. "You made it everyone's business the moment you walked in here." Vanessa stayed quiet. She looked uncomfortable now, but she still didn't let go of Marcus's hand. I noticed something strange. She kept looking around the house. Not at me, not at the guests, at the house, the pictures on the wall, the furniture, the staircase. Almost like she was imagining herself living there. That thought made my stomach twist. My mother walked toward me and gently touched my shoulder. "Honey," she whispered, "you don't have to stand here." But I wasn't ready to walk away. Not yet. I wanted answers. I looked straight at Marcus. "How long?" He hesitated. Then he answered. "Almost a year." The room filled with quiet gasps. A whole year. For 12 months, he had kissed me goodbye before work. For 12 months, he had eaten dinner at my table. For 12 months, he had looked me in the eyes and told me he loved me. Every memory suddenly felt different. Every smile felt fake. I took a slow breath. "Does she know you're still my husband?" Vanessa finally spoke. "He told me your marriage was already over." I looked at her carefully. There was no anger in her voice, only confusion. I realized something important. She hadn't expected this evening either. Marcus quickly interrupted. "Doesn't matter anymore." "Oh, it matters," I said quietly. "It matters a lot." The guests began collecting their coats. No one wanted to stay. The celebration had disappeared. One by one, friends hugged me before leaving. Some were crying. Some couldn't even look at Marcus. Within 15 minutes, my house felt almost empty. Only my family remained. Marcus sighed. "I'll pack some things." I stared at him. "You think you're taking anything today?" "It's my house too." I slowly shook my head. "No." He laughed softly. "You can't stop me." I didn't answer. Instead, I walked into my bedroom. I opened the closet and pulled out one small suitcase. Marcus smiled, thinking I was packing my own things. Instead, I carried the empty suitcase back into the living room and placed it at his feet. "You have 10 minutes. His smile disappeared. "You can't be serious." I've never been more serious. For the first time that evening, I saw uncertainty in his face. Vanessa looked at him. "You told me she already wanted a divorce." Marcus didn't answer. She frowned. "You also told me this party was just a family dinner." Again, silence. A tiny crack had appeared in the story he had built. I noticed it. So did Vanessa. She slowly let go of his hand. Marcus looked annoyed. "Now isn't the time." "No," she replied quietly. "I think it is." She turned toward me. I didn't know today was your birthday." I believed her. Her eyes held something I hadn't seen before. Regret. Marcus rubbed his forehead. "This is getting ridiculous." Without another word, Vanessa picked up her purse. "I need some air." She walked out the front door alone. Marcus called after her, but she never looked back. The front door closed. The house became silent again. Marcus turned toward me with frustration. "You've ruined everything." For a moment, I almost laughed. He had betrayed me. humiliated me, destroyed my birthday, and somehow he believed I was the one who had ruined everything. That was the moment something changed inside me. The tears stopped. The shaking stopped. The fear disappeared. In its place came something much quieter, something stronger, clarity. I looked at Marcus with calm eyes. "You should leave now." He stared at me for several long seconds. Then he grabbed the empty suitcase and walked upstairs. As I watched him disappear, my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. It was a message from an unknown number. I opened it. Attached was a single photo. Marcus, standing beside a woman I had never seen before. The date on the picture was from 2 years ago. My heart skipped a beat. Vanessa wasn't the beginning. She wasn't even the only one. And suddenly, I realized my husband had been hiding a much darker secret than I had ever imagined. I stared at the photo until my vision became blurry. Marcus was standing outside a luxury hotel with another woman. She wasn't Vanessa. She wasn't anyone I recognized. The date in the corner of the picture was from almost 2 years earlier, long before he claimed he had fallen in love with Vanessa. A cold feeling settled in my chest. How many lies had I been living with? Before I could think any further, another message appeared. "I'm sorry to send this like this. You deserve to know the truth. Don't tell Marcus we talked." There was no name, no explanation, just those words. I saved the number without replying. At that moment, Marcus came downstairs carrying the suitcase. He looked tired but not sorry. "I'll come back next week for the rest of my things," he said. I crossed my arms. "You should call first." He gave a short laugh. "I don't need permission to enter my own house." I looked at him quietly. "You might be surprised." For a second, he looked confused. Then he picked up the suitcase and walked toward the front door. Before leaving, he turned around. "I never wanted to hurt you." I met his eyes. "But you planned it anyway." He had no answer. The door closed behind him. The silence that followed felt different. The house no longer felt broken. It felt empty. My mother wrapped her arms around me. "You don't have to be strong tonight." I rested my head on her shoulder. "I know." For the first time since Marcus walked in with Vanessa, I cried, not loud, not dramatically, just quiet tears that refused to stop. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. The birthday decorations were still hanging around the living room. The cake sat untouched on the table. I carried it to the trash. As I lifted the box, something slipped underneath it, a folded envelope. My name was written on the front in Marcus's handwriting. I frowned. I had never seen it before. Inside was a birthday card. The words made my heart ache. "Happy birthday to the woman who believed in me before anyone else. Thank you for every sacrifice you've made for us." The message stopped there. No signature. No ending. Almost as if he had started writing it before changing his mind. I folded it carefully and placed it back inside the envelope. Some memories deserved to stay unfinished. Later that afternoon, my best friend Olivia came over with coffee. She didn't ask unnecessary questions. She simply sat beside me on the porch. After a long silence, she spoke. "What are you going to do?" "I honestly don't know." She nodded. "Then don't rush." We watched the neighborhood children riding bicycles across the street. Life continued, even when your own world felt like it had stopped. Just before Olivia left, she handed me a small folder. I wasn't sure if I should show you this. Inside were several printed documents, bank statements, credit card records, property papers. I looked at her in confusion. "Where did these come from?" "My cousin works at the law office that handled your home purchase." My heartbeat quickened. She pointed to one page. "Read the ownership section." I looked down. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then I noticed it. Only one name appeared as the legal owner of the house. Mine. I blinked twice to make sure I wasn't imagining it. Marcus's name wasn't anywhere on the document, but he always said we bought it together. Olivia shook her head. "You paid the down payment. The mortgage comes from your account." The house has always been legally yours. I couldn't speak. For 3 years, Marcus had acted like everything belonged equally to both of us. Yet legally, the house had never been his. A strange feeling spread through me, not happiness, not revenge, relief. For the first time since my birthday, I realized I wasn't completely powerless. That evening, my phone rang again. It was the same unknown number. This time, there was a voice message. I pressed play. A woman's quiet voice filled the room. Naomi, my name is Rachel. I dated Marcus before Vanessa. He told me he was divorced. I didn't learn the truth until much later. My heart pounded. There are things you still don't know. I've kept every message he ever sent me. If you're ready to hear everything, I'll tell you. The recording ended. I slowly lowered my phone. 3 women, 3 different stories, 1 man, and deep inside I knew the truth waiting for me would be far more painful than anything I had already discovered. 3 women. The thought echoed through my mind long after Rachel's voice message ended. Me, Vanessa, Rachel. How many lives had Marcus walked into with promises he never intended to keep? I sat at my kitchen table for nearly an hour, staring at my phone. Part of me wanted to delete the message and move on. Another part knew I would never find peace if I kept running from the truth. Finally, I called the number back. Rachel answered after the second ring. Naomi? Yes. I wasn't sure you'd call. Her voice sounded nervous, almost guilty. I don't blame you, I said quietly. I just need the truth. There was a long pause. I'll tell you everything. That afternoon, we met at a small coffee shop across town. Rachel looked to be around 30. She wore a simple gray sweater and almost no makeup. She didn't look like someone trying to cause trouble. She looked like someone carrying too much regret. As soon as she sat down, she slid a large envelope across the table. I've been waiting a long time to give this to someone. Inside were printed text messages, photos, hotel receipts, even screenshots of money transfers. Every page told the same story. Marcus had introduced himself as a successful businessman who was trapped in a failed marriage. He promised Rachel they would build a future together. He promised to marry her. Then one day, he disappeared. Rachel looked down at her coffee. I found out later that he had gone back to you. I closed my eyes for a moment. I never knew. I believe you. She reached into her purse again. There's something else. This time she handed me a small flash drive. He used to save important documents on my laptop. I copied these before he deleted them. I stared at the tiny device in my hand. What kind of documents? Rachel hesitated. I think Marcus has been hiding money. My heart skipped a beat. Hiding money? She nodded. I don't understand everything, but the files mention bank accounts and investments under different names. Suddenly, so many things began making sense. The unexplained business trips, the late-night phone calls, the missing savings he always blamed on failed investments. None of it had been bad luck, it had been lies. When I returned home, Olivia was waiting for me. The moment she saw the flash drive, she asked no questions. Instead, she opened her laptop. Together, we looked through every folder. There were contracts, financial records, secret email accounts. One spreadsheet immediately caught my attention. It listed thousands of dollars moving between several different accounts over the past 3 years. Olivia slowly shook her head. This isn't normal. Another document stopped me cold. Marcus had been preparing divorce papers, not recently, 8 months ago, but they weren't signed. Instead, attached to them was a handwritten note. Wait until everything is transferred. Transferred? Transferred where? Transferred to whom? Before I could think further, someone knocked on my front door. Olivia looked through the window. It's Vanessa. I wasn't expecting that. I opened the door carefully. Vanessa stood on the porch holding a small folder against her chest. Her eyes were red. I know you probably don't want to see me. I remained silent, but I need to tell you something. After a few seconds, I stepped aside. She entered slowly. The living room felt strangely familiar again, even without the birthday decorations. Vanessa sat down but couldn't meet my eyes. I ended things with Marcus. I wasn't surprised. He lied to me too. She opened the folder. Inside were dozens of printed conversations. He told me you were controlling. He said you only married him for money. He said you refused to sign divorce papers. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I believed him. I quietly pushed a box of tissues toward her. She wiped her face. Yesterday I confronted him. What happened? I asked. He became angry. Her hands trembled. He told me to stay out of his business. Business, not relationship. Business, that single word stayed with me. Vanessa reached into her purse one last time. I almost forgot. She handed me a folded piece of paper. It's the address where Marcus has been staying. I unfolded it. It wasn't a hotel. It wasn't an apartment. It was the address of a downtown office building. My heart started racing. Marcus wasn't hiding with another woman. He was hiding something else. Something far bigger than any affair. And for the first time, I realized that exposing his betrayal might uncover secrets he had spent years trying to bury. The address stayed in my mind all night. It wasn't an apartment. It wasn't a hotel. It was a quiet office building in the middle of downtown Charlotte. Marcus had told everyone he was staying with friends while he figured out his future. That had been another lie. The next morning, Olivia drove me there. Neither of us spoke much during the ride. I wasn't looking for revenge anymore. I was looking for the truth. After everything that had happened, that was all I wanted. We parked across the street. People in business suits walked in and out of the building, carrying laptops and coffee cups. Nothing about the place looked unusual. Then I saw Marcus. He stepped out of the front entrance with a man wearing an expensive gray suit. They shook hands. Marcus smiled. It was the same smile he used to give me whenever he told me everything was going to be okay. I quietly lifted my phone and recorded a short video. Not because I wanted to embarrass him, because I had learned that the truth is strongest when it can be seen. A few minutes later, the man drove away. Marcus started walking toward his car. I stepped out from behind another vehicle. Marcus! He froze. His face turned pale. Naomi, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same question. He looked around nervously. This isn't the place. I think it is. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, he sighed. What do you want? I looked him straight in the eyes. I want one honest conversation. He leaned against his car. I made mistakes. No, I gently shook my head. Mistakes happen once. This happened for years. His shoulders dropped. For the first time since my birthday, he looked tired instead of confident. I never planned for things to get this bad. But they did. He covered his face with one hand. I kept thinking I could fix everything before you found out. I thought about the birthday party, the humiliation, the tears, the sleepless nights. You had countless chances to tell me the truth. I know. You chose lies every single time. He didn't argue. Instead, he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope. I was going to give this to you. Inside were legal papers, the divorce documents, already signed. Along with them was another document transferring every dollar from our shared savings account back into mine. I never touched your money, he said quietly. I couldn't. I remembered the house, the bank records. Everything had always been in my name. Marcus had spent years pretending he had control, but legally he owned almost nothing. He gave a weak smile. I guess I underestimated you. I shook my head. No, you underestimated honesty. A gentle breeze moved through the parking lot. For the first time, I didn't feel angry. I simply felt finished. Marcus looked at me with tears in his eyes. I know saying sorry isn't enough. No, it isn't. I wish I could change everything. I believed he meant it, but some doors only close once. I hope you become a better man someday, I said. but that journey won't include me. I turned and walked back toward Olivia's car. Marcus didn't follow. He didn't call my name. He simply stood there, watching the life he had chosen slowly disappear. A month later, the divorce became official. I kept the house, not because I wanted to win, because it had always been my home. Vanessa sent me one final message. "Thank you for showing me the truth. I'm starting over too." Rachel also reached out. She had found peace by finally telling her story. As for me, I spent the next few months repainting every room in the house. The old colors reminded me of broken promises. The new ones reminded me that healing often begins with small changes. One evening, I sat on my back porch watching the sun disappear behind the trees. For the first time in a long time, the silence didn't hurt. It comforted me. I realized something important. Losing the person who betrayed you isn't the greatest loss. Losing yourself while trying to keep them is. I smiled as the evening breeze brushed across my face. My 25th birthday had not been the ending I expected. It had become the beginning of a life built on truth instead of excuses. If there's one lesson my story taught me, it's this: love should never require you to ignore your worth. The people who truly care about you will never ask you to shrink your light so they can feel brighter. Sometimes, the hardest goodbye becomes the first step toward the happiest chapter of your life. And as I closed the front door of my home that night, I finally understood something I wish I had known years earlier. The sweetest revenge isn't making someone suffer. It's finding the courage to live happily without them.